Welcome to News Edge, your sharpest source for daily headlines and deep dives. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay ahead of the curve. On July 30th, 2025, Beijing stunned the world by slapping a 100% tariff on a vast array of goods from the European Union and South Korea. This move, announced with little warning, sent shockwaves through the global economy and left international businesses scrambling for answers. The suddenness of the announcement caught even seasoned analysts off guard, as China has rarely taken such a bold and sweeping action in recent years. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a trade earthquake. The scale and speed of the policy's implementation are unprecedented, signaling a dramatic escalation in global trade tensions. Ports that were once bustling with activity now stand eerily silent, as shipments are halted and uncertainty ripples through supply chains. For every dollar of targeted imports, another dollar is now taxed at the border, instantly doubling prices and making these goods nearly unsellable in China. European luxury cars, Korean electronics, and countless other products are suddenly out of reach for most Chinese consumers. Importers are left with warehouses full of goods they can no longer move, and retailers are bracing for empty shelves and angry customers. The message is unmistakable. China is willing to endure pain to assert its power. By imposing such harsh tariffs, Beijing is signaling that it will not back down, even if it means short-term hardship for its own economy. This is a calculated risk, designed to show both domestic and international audiences that China is prepared to defend its interests at any cost. Investors are rattled, and global markets are already reacting. Stock prices for major European and Korean exporters have plummeted, while currency markets are experiencing wild swings. Financial analysts are warning of a potential domino effect, as companies around the world reassess their exposure to the Chinese market and brace for further disruptions. The tariffs take effect next week, giving businesses almost no time to adjust. Exporters are scrambling to reroute shipments, renegotiate contracts, and find alternative markets. Many fear that the sudden change will lead to layoffs, factory shutdowns, and a wave of bankruptcies among smaller suppliers who depend on Chinese demand. The targeted list is broad: luxury cars, high-end machinery, cosmetics, electronics, hitting the economic core of Europe and Korea. These industries represent not just products but entire ecosystems of jobs, innovation, and prestige. The impact will be felt far beyond the factory floor, affecting everyone from engineers and designers to salespeople and logistics workers. This is more than economics, it's a political statement. China is sending a clear signal to the world that it will not tolerate what it sees as unfair treatment or external pressure. The move is likely to trigger a new round of diplomatic negotiations, as affected countries scramble to respond and prevent further escalation. China is flexing its muscle as the world's largest consumer market, reminding everyone that access is a privilege, not a right. For years, foreign brands have relied on Chinese consumers to drive growth and profits. Now those same companies are being reminded that the door to China can close just as quickly as it opened. The era of easy entry into China's market is over. Companies will now have to navigate a far more complex and unpredictable landscape, where political considerations can outweigh business logic. Many are already questioning whether the risks of doing business in China now outweigh the rewards. Economic interdependence has become a weapon. What was once seen as a force for peace and prosperity is now being used as leverage in a high-stakes geopolitical contest. The world is watching closely as the fallout from China's shocking new policy continues to unfold. China's latest move on the global stage is a direct response to what Beijing describes as economic aggression from both Europe and South Korea. In recent months, tensions have escalated as China feels increasingly targeted by foreign policies that threaten its economic rise and technological ambitions. The European Union, for example, has slapped heavy tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and green technology imports, arguing that China's government subsidies create an uneven playing field for European manufacturers. These tariffs are not just about trade, they're about protecting Europe's own industries from what they see as unfair competition. Meanwhile, South Korea, closely aligning itself with the United States, has tightened restrictions on the export of advanced semiconductors to China. These chips are crucial for everything from smartphones to electric cars, and the new rules are designed to limit China's access to cutting-edge technology. From Beijing's perspective, these actions are not isolated. They're part of a broader strategy to slow China's growth and block its path to becoming a global tech leader. The government sees these measures as direct attacks on its economic future and its ambitions to lead in innovation. In response, China has announced a dramatic 100% tariff on certain imports, framing it as a necessary counterstrike. This move is designed to defend national interests, send a strong message to foreign governments, and rally support among Chinese citizens and businesses. The timing of this announcement is no accident. After months of issuing warnings that went largely unheeded, China is now making a bold statement to the world. It will not sit back while its interests are threatened. Beyond retaliation, the policy is also about strengthening China's own economy. By making foreign goods more expensive, the government hopes to encourage consumers to buy more domestically produced products, boosting local industries and jobs. This is a high-stakes gamble. China aims to punish its rivals, accelerate its drive for self-sufficiency in key sectors, and send a warning to other countries considering joining US-led efforts to contain its rise. The message is clear. Economic pressure will be met with forceful resistance. The world is watching as China signals it won't back down. The message to its adversaries is unmistakable. Target us, and we'll hit back, and we'll do it decisively. Ultimately, China is betting that its vast market and growing economic power are simply too important for the world to ignore or cut off. In this new era of global trade tensions, Beijing is determined to shape the rules, not just follow them. China's tariffs are a precision strike, carefully designed to hit where it hurts the most for its trading partners. These new tariffs are aimed directly at the economic powerhouses of Europe and Korea, threatening the industries that have long been the pride of these regions. German automakers, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, are now staring down a crisis. Their vehicles, once symbols of prestige and engineering excellence in China, are suddenly out of reach for millions of Chinese consumers. As prices soar, demand plummets, and the ripple effects threaten jobs and profits back home. French and Italian luxury brands, from high fashion to fine jewelry, are also feeling the squeeze. China was their fastest-growing market, a place where new wealth fueled insatiable demand. Now, with doors closing and sales drying up, these brands face an uncertain future. Korean giants like Samsung and LG, along with the booming cosmetics industry, are suddenly priced out of the world's largest consumer market. Products that once flew off the shelves now gather dust, as Chinese consumers turn to homegrown alternatives. China's strategy is unmistakable. Target sectors where foreign brands have dominated for years, but where Chinese companies are now catching up fast. By making foreign goods more expensive, China gives its own brands a powerful boost. The goal isn't to halt all trade, but to gradually replace foreign products with Chinese-made alternatives. It's a calculated move to shift consumer loyalty and build up domestic champions. The impact goes far beyond just products on shelves. Decades of investment, intricate supply chains, and cross-border partnerships are now at risk. Companies that once saw China as a land of opportunity now face a landscape filled with uncertainty. Multinational corporations are being forced to rethink their entire China strategy, weighing the risks and rewards of staying versus leaving. These tariffs don't just disrupt trade, they challenge the very foundation of globalized business, shaking the confidence of companies around the world. For many, the Chinese market may no longer be viable. The storm unleashed by these tariffs is forcing a painful reckoning, as companies grapple with the possibility of a future without China at the center of their global ambitions. Panic is spreading through Europe's industrial heartlands. German automakers, deeply invested in China, face factory shutdowns and job losses as exports collapse. France's luxury sector, fashion, wine, champagne, sees its biggest market vanish overnight. Even specialized machinery makers in Italy and Germany are cut off, accelerating China's push for self-reliance. European companies scramble for solutions, absorb losses, shift production to China, or abandon the market. Relocating carries risks: intellectual property theft, deeper dependence on China. Smaller firms may have no choice but to pull out entirely. Years of investment are now in jeopardy. For South Korea, the shock is existential. China is its top trading partner. Tariffs on electronics, cars, and petrochemicals hit the economy's core. The Korean wave, cosmetics, pop culture, food, faces sudden collapse. Small businesses are especially vulnerable, with bankruptcy looming. Seoul is trapped between its US security alliance and Chinese economic dependence. Korean firms must pivot fast, diversify markets, invest in China, or restructure at home. None of these options can replace China's scale. The crisis forces Korea to rethink its entire economic strategy. Behind the headlines, ordinary people bear the brunt. In Europe, auto workers, designers, and vineyard owners face layoffs and lost dreams as exports dry up. Generations-old businesses may close, erasing cultural heritage. In Korea, entrepreneurs and office workers see their livelihoods vanish overnight. The sense of opportunity is replaced by anxiety and uncertainty. Even in China, consumers lose access to foreign brands and face higher prices. For Europe and Korea, the pain is direct job losses, economic stagnation, and shrinking public services. The cost of this trade war is paid by families, not politicians. The future feels more uncertain than ever. Europe and Korea are scrambling for a response. First, they'll file complaints with the World Trade Organization, symbolic, but slow and likely ineffective. Retaliatory tariffs are tempting but risk a devastating trade war. Diplomacy is the third option. Seek compromise, perhaps by easing some restrictions in exchange for China rolling back tariffs. This requires unity and political will, both in short supply. The long-term answer is de-risking, reducing dependence on China by diversifying supply chains and markets. This is slow, costly, and offers no quick fix. Building new trade routes and factories will take years. The immediate crisis has no easy solution. Europe and Korea must choose between escalation, negotiation, or painful adaptation. China's move could ignite a global trade war. The US, already at odds with China, may join in, escalating tensions further. If the world's three largest economies clash, globalization as we know it could unravel. Countries would be forced to pick sides, supply chains would fracture, and costs would soar. Developing nations would suffer most, caught in the crossfire and facing economic collapse. International cooperation on issues like climate change and health would break down. The world would become poorer, more divided, and less stable. The stakes go far beyond trade, they threaten the entire global order. The price of a German car in Shanghai is just the beginning. The world stands at a crossroads. One path, rapid de-escalation through back-channel diplomacy and compromise. Another, a tense stalemate with tariffs in place and a fractured global economy as the new normal. The most dangerous, continued escalation, leading to a global recession and the collapse of the trading system. Leaders must choose dialogue and compromise, or nationalism and confrontation. The decision will shape the lives of billions and define global power for a generation. The deep ties that once bound economies now threaten to pull them apart. The world is watching, waiting for a sign of hope or a signal of deeper division. July 30th, 2025 may be remembered as a turning point. The next move will decide the future.